Well, hello everybody, and welcome to today's stream. We're going to be talking about dignity. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it evil beyond comparison? I know we often talk about dignity as a good thing, but right now we're kind of exploring that topic. So let's explore it together. Yeah. Well, welcome back to thoughtraid, a show where we take on thoughts and find better ways of thinking about them. I'm Brandon. This is Tim.
And your microphone is way away from your face.
Oh, you're right. Oh, God. This whole
talking
time.
out into the ether, Brandon.
It's been such a long time since I've done this, I forgot that this is a thing. Hello. You might not have heard the topic. Let me go over the topic again. The topic today is about dignity. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it an evil thing, actually?
Evil.
I don't know. This is something that's been on our thoughts and mind.
It's something we've been talking about.
Yeah, and so it's something we're going to be covering today. Usually, people talk about dignity as a good thing, and maybe it is, but there is a side of it that could also be linked to pride, and so that's something we're going to navigate today. So we're happy to be here talking about that. Also, hello, Zap.
Apparently, he thinks that dignity is a pretty thing.
But hello, good to see you. And it is, maybe it's pretty. I don't know, but let's talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, this was something that's been on my mind recently, because when I think about growing up and getting more mature and how people receive me, I think about being dignified. I think about people with, well-pressed clothing and having their life together. And
I'm sorry, Tim. I'm laughing because this thing is not quite.
They make pills for this, Brandon.
No, jeez. What direction does he need to go?
What are you doing, Brandon?
I'm trying to figure out what direction he needs to twist in order for it to not do that. There we go. Sorry about that. That should be the last of loud, uncomfortable sounds, hopefully. Okay, sorry. Continue.
Okay, so when I was growing up, I always wanted to be dignified because my family, I felt, was kind of country, kind of redneck.
Mm-hmm.
Just felt like everything was chaotic. Everything in life was loose. Our finances were loose. Our relationships were loose. Nothing was kempt. And when I would watch things like Disney movies, I would see the aristocracy, and there was that puffed chest, dignified, I've got my life together feel. And I always thought that being dignified was a good thing. And I think in my adult life, I've just striven to be dignified and composed and to have all my thoughts and my life and responsibilities in order. And it's like the more I do that, the more I feel like I have to maintain everything I've manufactured. And we've said that statement before. Whatever you manufacture, you have to maintain. But I always thought that being dignified was healthy. I'm not as convinced anymore that it is.
You've had an interesting life experience that most people who work and do jobs will not really know.
Yeah.
And that might be a good starting place to explain where you're coming from with this.
Sure. So for those of you who don't know, one of my jobs is I work for a nonprofit called We Carry Kevin. And we work with people who have disabilities, specifically things like cerebral palsy or spinal muscular atrophy, people who are para and quadriplegic. And so from time to time, I have the privilege to operate as a caregiver, which just helps these people meet their needs in different ways. And I started thinking about dignity when the first time that I became a caregiver and offered care to a person, because there are just things that won't get done unless they ask for help in getting those things done. Things like going to the bathroom or being fed, or just different things that it's like, oh, I hate asking for somebody to do this for me. Like, hey, could you put deodorant on my armpits? Because I can't do that. I'm just anyway. I started thinking like, what place does dignity have in relationships with somebody that can't do those things for themselves? And it's kind of a raw question. Fox is streaming and he will be for an hour or two. So if you want to check him out today, would be a good day. He's playing. Oh, cool. Thanks, Zap. But anyways, I was thinking, what place does dignity have in those relationships? And then I started thinking about my own relationships with people.
Hey, viewer.
Hey, viewer. So in my own relationships, what place does dignity have? Because like I said, I always thought that dignity was something healthy. Like, oh, I need to be dignified and refined and accountable for myself. But in all of my relationships where I have felt dignified, it's almost like I had to maintain a certain posture of having things together. And then enter, my friend that I was caregiving for, and I have to do things like help them use the restroom and take a shower, and they don't have the luxury. And I used that term specifically, that they don't have the luxury of dignity that I have. And I don't know. And I'm curious what you guys think. How does that hit when I define dignity as a luxury?
I mean, it's interesting. I don't think I've never actually put together the word luxury and dignity in the same sentence. I've not thought to do that.
Did you just think it was something that we all had, or just something that...
Well, to be honest, dignity is not something that I've thought about often at all, really. But maybe that's partly because of how I live my life.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I don't...
Do you not have any dignity?
No, it's not that I don't... I've never just thought about it. I don't think about dignity often, personally. There's other things I think about more often. But that I at the same time I don't I try to be as humble as I can,
mm-hmm.
and as honest as I can.
Yeah.
And trying to be humble and honest kind of comes in the territory of losing traditional senses of dignity, especially when you have to tell someone I was wrong, I don't know what I'm doing, or you're panicking and you're not doing things well because
you're like
panicking.
Falling apart.
Right. Like there's no way to have normal dignity in those situations because you're already floundering as it is. Mm-hmm. And so since I've had that happen often, I haven't thought about it. I've just kind of given up on being dignified. But now I'm curious if there's like a definition.
Here we go.
Between a difference of definition between dignity and dignified.
Well, I think it's kind of the same thing. Dignity. I can't do this. It's so far away. Okay, so the dictionary, Oxford language term, or definition for dignity is the state or quality of being worthy of honor or respect, a composed or serious manner of style, or a sense of pride in oneself, self-respect. Oof. Oof. So the title of today's stream is How Dignity is Killing You.
Yeah. Especially that last part, though.
Yeah.
A sense of pride.
Yeah. Zap said, sorry, I just need to quote you on, there's other things I think about more often. Carry on.
There's other things I think about. There are other things I think about more often.
Than dignity.
Yeah. Well, that's where he cut off at more often. I definitely not going to take that out of context. So I guess you were attempting to take that out of context of that one statement.
Well, okay, so...
reining it back in.
Thinking about dignity. I don't know. I think about... I think thinking about having self-respect and pride in oneself, I don't know. I really think it just depends on how you approach what it means to have value, because in a lot of circles, we ascribe to have different vocations. We, have a high paying job, have a large or nice house, nice vehicle, new clothes, just whatever status things. And it's like, oh, I have dignity because I can take care of this stuff myself. See, I'm worthy and I respect myself because I do these things. And like, I get it. Like, self-respect is important because you don't want somebody to walk all over you. But I think it's not the same thing as pride, because I think having pride in yourself, it's kind of icky.
Yeah. I think there's definitely something to be paying attention to is the boundary where it goes from
excuse me,
when it goes from self-respect and making sure that you're taking care of yourself and you're not just being undignified, where you're just completely unraveled and you're not living up to the life you can live, and pride where it's like I do everything myself. No one helps me. I don't need other people, like you're talking about, or thinking that you're better than you actually are. That's when it becomes problematic, I would say. When you need to be very conscientious.
Yeah. I'm
beginning to wonder who actually had COVID.
This guy.
I was remarking how much you're coughing. I was like,
I just got something in my throat. I'm not sure what. But anyway, we're Christian dudes, so we look at stuff from the position of the Jesus Christ. The Jesus Christ. And when I think about pride, I think my mind immediately goes to King David, who, if you know anything about his story, he was a really awesome dude, apparently. Like, he had his faults, of course, but he was a talented musician. He had music and poets, or poetry and all sorts of artsy things happening nonstop for several years, honoring the Lord. But then he did something kind of strange. He was the king of Israel and one of the greatest kings, a man after God's own heart. And he has this parade walking down the street. And as the king, the leader of the greatest nation in the world at the time, he takes his clothes off, gets naked, and dances through the streets. That's so crazy to me. This man who is could have so much dignity and pride, cast everything off to say, you know what? It's not me.
The event specifically was they had lost the Ark of the Covenant.
I need to get some water.
Okay.
Right here.
They had lost the Ark of the Covenant, which was if you've watched, what is it called?
Chosen?
Indiana Jones. No, I was going to say Indiana Jones.
Was that the Ark of the Covenant?
Yeah.
Never saw it.
There was one particular one where they were looking for the Ark of the Covenant, and they found it. And it's this golden box with 2 rods, and then there are some depictions of angels on the top with their wings pointed upward. And inside the box would be the second tablets of the 10 Commandments, because the first one got dashed. The rod of Aaron, the budding rod of Aaron. So a stick.
Budding?
Yes, a staff that's still budding. Like, even though it's been separated from the tree, it's still producing life.
Oh, I see. So it's a stick that has buds on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they had manna, like a jar of manna inside the ark. And the ark...
Like MP?
Yes, like mana points. Yes.
Gamer reference.
Yes. I mean, mana in gaming came from mana in the Bible. And I think the literal translation of mana in Hebrew is, what is it? Because they didn't even know what it was. They knew how to describe it physically, but they didn't know what the heck it was.
Which was weird, because as they left, as the Israelites left Egypt, God gave them manna, and it was bread or something.
Well, yeah, we don't know exactly what the manna was. It was some kind of flaky thing that showed up on the ground every day, except for Saturday. It did not show up on the ground on Saturday, on Shabbat. They were expected to take an extra amount on Friday so that it would last over Saturday and then start the process on Sunday again. So they that's what they had in the ark, and the ark was where the presence of God rested. And they had the ark placed in the far back of a tabernacle in a place called the Holy of Holies. And so the presence of God was there, and if any priest were to enter into there, like there was like a giant veil, if they were to enter into the veil except once a year without doing any sacrifices, they would die. Just dead.
Mm-hmm. So what does this have to do with dignity?
And, well, I'm just saying, I'm giving context to the ark.
Okay.
And so, and the story of David. And so finally, going back to David, they had lost that.
I said, even God's got to take a break. He gets Saturdays off.
Nice. On the 7th day he rested, so yes, he took a break. I don't know if he had to, but he decided to. Anyways, they had lost the ark. And I don't remember exactly when. I don't know if it was under King Saul that they lost the ark, but at some point they lost it. And David, because he had a close relationship with God and put God first in his life when they got it back, was so excited and ecstatic that he decided to strip down naked and dance throughout Jerusalem, I guess, when they're bringing the ark back into the city. So that's the context of why he was doing it. It was a radical reaction to God returning to the land, essentially.
Yeah. Similarly, I'm just thinking about modern day stories, the types of things that inspire us that are like, yeah, it's usually the climax of a story when, I don't know, I can't think of anything in particular, but it's a common movie trope where throughout the story you have this protagonist who has this shortcoming and they defend it. And then they get to a point where something happens and something that they value is endangered. And then they just throw all their inhibitions to the wind and they sacrifice themselves for that thing. And usually, especially in love stories, the guy starts singing in front of a crowd of people or something embarrassing, casting off the dignity. I don't know. I think there's something special there. But I think when it comes to, talking about how dignity is killing you, I kind of want to take this in a slightly different direction. So in our own lives, like what dignity looks like and why we strive so earnestly to maintain it. Like, and Zap, since I know you're listening, what does that look like for you specifically? What does it look like to engage dignity and try to maintain that dignity for pride's sake?
What does it look like to be dignified?
Thank you. Thank you, Brandon. Yes.
I'm just trying to think of ways of wording it. And that was a question I had previously, is there a difference between dignity and dignified? Because they sound like they'd be two slightly different things. Mm-hmm. But, oh gosh, it's been a while. I have to really think about this because I have a part of my conscious effort is to be humble. I try my best to be humble. And I've gone overboard with it, where I have definitely said I don't know something when I really did, and genuinely so. But still, I did see problems, but decided maybe this other person knows more than me. So that's interesting. I feel like if being dignified, in my case, my optimal image, if I were to make it all about image, were to be that I would have a successful career, making me lots of money, and that I would have no flaws in terms of like I wouldn't be dealing with fear or challenges pushing myself to be healthy or whatever. I would just be on top of my health game and never make mistakes that the Bible says not to make. And I would be helping a bunch of people, but I wouldn't need that much help because I'd be able to get most of my needs met through God, kind of thing. And this is just me also trying to because I haven't thought like this. So it's like I'm trying to consciously put myself into shoes I don't typically wear anymore.
Well, I think for me, and actually, real quick, Zap said, I think this really relates to the introvert extrovert topic too. Do you think dignity has a lot to do with that?
Dignity had to do with extroversion and introversion. Maybe. I do feel like, an introvert is an introvert in some ways in an unhealthy sense because by getting involved with people, it's more chances for them to fail. So they'd rather stay at home where they can fail in secret and still look like perfect when they get back involved with people. And at the same time, extroverts' dignity to them could look like, they are just Mr. Popular, and that's always what they are, and they have no other sides to that, and they want to be everyone's friend. And their dignity is the fact that they can be everyone's friend and, people please. So I feel like it could relate to that in those ways.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, Zap. You said I feel like this really relates to introversion and extroversion. Do you think dignity has a lot to do with that? What do you mean by that exactly? Are you asking if dignity causes people to be introverts or extroverts, or what does that look like as an introvert or extrovert? What do you mean exactly? But while you're answering that, I think in reality, dignity has a root in insecurity. So kind of in line with what you're saying, I think dignity looks a little different between the two, where for like an introvert, like the idea of an introvert is that you recharge by lack of people, and social interaction actually exhausts you to a degree. It takes more intentionality. Extroverts get recharged by social interaction, whereas being alone is exhausting. And that's really the difference between the two. And so what place does dignity have in those? So somebody who is introverted, who gets exhausted by being in front of other people, I think it might exhaust them more quickly. Because I'm an introvert. I'm one of those people who I just get to I actually got to this point yesterday, I think, after going for a week and a half or so. I just got to a point where, I just shut off and I couldn't, and whenever I feel like I'm in a place where I'm unsure of my value or my standing, I have to, I don't have to, but I feel like I have to be a little bit more than I am. And it's kind of like when you're using a leaf blower or, driving a vehicle, you press the gas more and it burns more fuel to go a little bit faster.
Yeah. That's an interesting way to look at it, yes.
Now, by contrast, thinking about extroverts, what that might look like is the overcompensation. So extroverts are usually the social butterflies. They like being around people. But I think dignity, especially if we identify that it comes from a place of insecurity, which is kind of what pride does. Pride covers all the stuff that we're afraid to let people see. I think it might manifest in over exaggerating, being more talkative than you need to. Zap said, that's kind of what I mean. Do you think extroverted people can almost put aside their dignity in certain situations? Something along those lines, I guess. Or the introverted people almost want to stay out of situations with other people to preserve their dignity, whether it be consciously or unconsciously. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think the way that you describe both those situations is a good way of looking what an extroverted or introverted person would do to maintain. I don't know if extroverted people are less dignified than introverted people. I think that they just have different standards. I think everyone has different standards in what they qualify as dignity. I feel like Kevin would have a different standard of dignity than we would have for himself, that he would want for himself or try to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
Anything I feel like a person has the ability to control is where they'll set their standard of dignity that they want or expect for themselves.
Yeah, like, for instance, you've never seen me naked, and I hope to God that you never do see me naked, And
neither have you.
And that's just one of those things where it's like we've never had to cross that line, and we don't want to cross that line. We want to preserve that. for whatever reason. But, you know, just thinking back to the Garden of Eden, Adam walked around the garden completely in the nude, and he had no issue with that.
Yeah.
That's how God made him. And when he and Eve ate from the knowledge of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, he was aware of certain things, and all of a sudden he's like, I need to cover this up. You know, I need to maintain my dignity in this situation because I can't be seen as bearing everything. By the way, are you an extrovert or introvert?
I'm an ambivert.
Ambivert?
I feel like, honestly, because...
Brandon, you're not supposed to fill in with your own answer. I didn't give you a C option.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, if I had to decide between only two options, I would say I fall more on the introverted side.
Yeah.
I think. People probably would describe me as extroverted, though.
Yeah, and Zap, what are you? I'm just curious.
Yeah, people would describe me as extroverted, but I feel like I'm a learned extrovert, not a natural extrovert.
Oh, yeah. Hashtag retail life.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really get an option. D, none of the above. I think we asked you that question last time we talked about that topic between introversion and extroversion.
Did we talk about that before?
Me and Dan did.
Oh.
Dan and I.
Interesting.
Proper grammar.
Things that happen when I'm not present. But, okay, so bringing it home. The title of today's stream was How Dignity is Killing You. I think in my own life, especially my adult life, I'll speak to that because I can look back on all these years now and say, man, I wish I'd done it differently. So if you're a younger viewer, if you are viewing, or Zap, since I know you're younger than us, just something that I learned that has hindered my relationships and my professional life. I think aspiring to not only maintain but manufacture a level of pride so that I can feel dignified and feel like I'm worth something more than I think that I need to be. Or just reaching for that worth, like, oh man, if only people saw me a certain way. You know, for the longest part of my life, that's how I thought. I came from a background that I was kind of ashamed of, and a lot of it was just based on how I was responding to it. And through my 20s, I did a lot of posturing. I tried to be something I wasn't, and it was gross, man. Like, I would engage people and I would posture like I had everything figured out. Like, oh, you can learn from me. I've got something to give you because I'm pretty awesome. You know, I'm dignified. You know, I've got pride in myself. I've got self-respect. But it was all a facade. It was all fake. It was all a mask. I didn't really feel that way. And then when I started following Jesus, I started realizing, oh, God accepts me for who I am right now, in my faults. There's a verse that says that, in your weakness I made strong, so saith the Lord. And it's like, the weaker I am, the stronger God is in my life. And just that idea that I'm accepted regardless of what I do, without having to have a specific type of college degree or an amount of money in my bank account, or I don't know, I'll even say a specific sexual orientation, whatever. Like, whatever I may be thinking I need to fix in order to be accepted, God accepts me, period. And when I actually started grasping that, I started being more vulnerable about the stuff I was trying to hide. And, you know, the craziest thing is when I started opening up and allowing people to see that side of me, the people who were safe and the people that were healthy accepted me too. They were like, I appreciate that, because it creates a space for people to be themselves, and not be themselves like they've cultured on social media, but be themselves like they are at home. Like, you know how you get home after a long day and you kick off your shoes and you walk around wearing one sock because you can't be asked to take off the other, and like you're just scratching your butt. You go and you just hang out and you're just not trying to be something.
I don't think I've ever walked around with one sock.
I've totally done that. I'm just like, I'm so tired.
I've definitely kept my shoes on though and walked around with my shoes. because my feet are cold and I can't be bothered to have cold feet. So, yeah, I keep my shoes on even though it's not as comfortable, or I'm just caught up in a conversation I got into the minute I walked through the door, and so I don't, feel like taking off my shoes until I'm truly done. So I've had that. I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's so important not to let dignity turn into pride and then be a cultured self before people, because one, no one's going to be able to properly help you should you actually truly need help, and we always are going to need help in some shape, way, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And two, people are going if people are going to be around you, they're going to only be around they think they know, and if they're not healthy enough to see who you really are, you're going to lose them when you begin to not be as dignified before them constantly.
Yeah.
Some people are interested in your curated self more than your actual self if all of you spent your time showing them is your curated self.
Oh, because the curated self often has things that they want too.
Right.
Zap has been quite verbose. He said,
I love it.
Being honest, though, I definitely think that I'm a bit more of an introvert. However, I still love doing things with my friends and people I know. Even though this is a little off topic, one of my favorite ideas I've ever heard was from Markiplier. When he started his channel, he was pretty nervous, thinking, I can't do this. But he created this other personality almost that could do all this stuff. And he said, I can't do this, but Markiplier can. And the more he got into the stuff, he realized that it was indeed him, and he could do everything all along.
I think that's interesting. It speaks to D&D. I like to connect this to D&D.
We're D&D nerds.
We are. You learn a lot about yourself when you create a character, because you can separate yourself enough from the parts that make you anxious, and you are putting forth a very exaggerated part of yourself, but it's still you. And a lot of people don't realize that character is you. I think a lot of people go into that thinking that they are playing the role of something else.
Well, maybe that's just because we're kind of new to D&D, and we only have a handful of characters between the two of us. You think maybe?
Well, I'm saying I know what part of myself my characters generally embody. Like, I consciously construct a character around parts of myself because I know that's how I'm going to be able to be in character. Because I know what part of me I'm showcasing.
It's like,
today.
I finally get to experience this.
Yes, I get to experience making bad decisions.
Oh, that's really funny because Nemo is kind of a misogynist. I don't believe those things, but it just kind of developed that way.
But it's in you.
Well,
and so I like the revelations that Markiplier has as you describe them, Zap, because reality is we do have capabilities in doing things, we just sometimes talk ourselves out of it. And that's honestly the whole focus of thoughtraid. The whole purpose of thoughtraid is to kind of figure out what thoughts are brewing in your brain that is preventing you from realizing you can do something. You can be free from X, Y, and Z or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we do as Christians too, because I remember before I was a Christian, I was thinking, well, Tim can't do this because look at all these limitations. But then I started realizing, oh, I am the son of a king. And in Jesus' name, I can do all things that he has done. And, I think when I accepted that, I was kind of in awe at first.
Responding to you, Zap, what brain? Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was in awe at first because I was like, okay, so this, the whole idea of being baptized, you go in the water and you come up a new person, like born again, #Baptist, So you get baptized, you go in the water, your old self gets washed away. You're now this new person because you choose to follow Jesus and you walk into what it's like to be the son of a king. And that was revolutionary for me. I guess it's kind of like Markiplier saying, well, I can't do it, but Markiplier can, or this persona can. And the more I lean into being the son of a king, the more I realize that apart from God, that's right, I can't really do much, and the whole idea of King David honoring God in that way, thinking, okay, well, he's not dignifying himself, he's dignifying God. Which, the weird thing about Christianity is God wants the glory. God wants the acknowledgement, which sounds kind of neurotic. Not neurotic, narcissistic, right? But I think it's weird because narcissists want things just for their own benefit, and God wants those things because he wants a relationship with us. He sacrifices himself for us on a daily basis so that we can acknowledge it and do the same for other people.
Yeah.
Well, and so like living that type of life, realizing that I'm not trying to dignify myself, I'm supposed to sacrifice myself to dignify others.
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept.
It's interesting. I think God does come across as narcissistic to a lot of people because they also don't see that God is worthy of those things. A narcissist is unbelievably confident in who they are and what they believe in, that kind of stuff, without actually having anything to back that.
Yeah, it's not substantiated.
But God does. And so maybe it is narcissistic, but you've got a person who actually is able to back up every one of those claims that he makes. And that's something. Like, that's something a narcissist can't touch. So in that sense, like, it's like every time you do give praise to God, which he is completely and totally worthy of, I find God never... This is a tangent, but I want to go on this tangent just as an encouragement. God is meek. Meek means power under restraint. It's humility. God is humble. He is the standard of humble. God has all of the knowledge of all the universe and all the capability of anything that's ever able to do anything. And yet, I never feel beaten down by his superiority. Ever. I never feel, wow, I'm so incredibly stupid. Like, I definitely, I think about those things in order to keep my own pride in check and remind myself that I am not omniscient, but I don't feel that coming from God. I don't feel God hitting me with an oppressive amount of, I know more than you. Because there's some people that they take their knowledge and they rub their knowledge in your face and they make you feel less than. And their knowledge really, in the end of the day, is about as thick as your own knowledge. Like, it's all coming from similar sources. It's paper thin and words deep,
Mm-hmm.
But with God, that's not the case. Yet I have never felt any sort of pride coming from him. He has shared things with me, but he makes me feel smart. And I walk away feeling like I have something I can give someone now. Not, man, I'm a terrible person. And I feel like there are people that do feel like that with God, and whenever he does share with them, but usually it's come because they've dealt with other people treating that way, so they superimpose their experiences with man onto God.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a trail, but I feel like I just wanted to take a second to mention that because I've been thinking about that as of yesterday.
I think it's very relevant, because you know how you have those people like Zap. I don't know if you know this, but I used to work for GameStop, and I would always have these people that would come in and regale me with their stories of how many platinum trophies they have on PlayStation Network, or how they had a high KDA in Call of Duty, or whatever. Just the dignity of being good at a video game. And more often than not, they couldn't back that up. But, if you've ever played things like Call of Duty or League of Legends, anything that's PvP, player versus player, more often than not, some people have that one friend or that group of friends that's exceptionally good. And so when they join your team, I don't do Xbox. I'm not one of those people. PlayStation gamer for life, boys. But you know how they join your team and you're like, okay, we're going to win.
Yeah.
And like, I remember, that's how it was in Call of Duty. Or actually, before I was a Call of Duty player, I played Rainbow Six Vegas and Vegas 2. I loved those games. And back then, you would have... see ya. But back then, you would have like rank corporal, lieutenant, whatever, and then go all the way up to elite. And so when an elite person would join in the lobby, it's like, oh my God, they've got 2 elites on their team. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they would be really good. And in my walk with God, that's how it's been. It's like every time I enter into a place that's really scary, like transitioning jobs or relationships, whatever, even most recently, I was like, God, I feel like I have something in my life that might be unhealthy. Your word says that the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. I'm going to trust that you're that player that's on my team that's going to carry me to victory, because that's what your word says. It says the victory there. It's already done. The victory has already been won. The battle has been won. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to trust you through this. I'm going to follow you through this. And I said, if this is unhealthy, would you take away the desire for this? And then I went on a trip and I came back the week later and, time passed. And then I looked back. It's like, I haven't taken part of that thing that could have been an addiction or something that was unhealthy in weeks now. What happened? It's not like I tried to make a manual decision to do that. It just happened. It's like, oh wait, that's right. I asked the elite player on my team to help me with that,
and he carried the load.
Yeah, and that's happened to me so many times. But every single time I've put myself in that position and thinking I'm better than I am. I remember when I first started playing League of Legends, it was like that. I was like, I'm the shit,
You broke the meta.
Yeah, and so we used to play a lot of custom games back then, and so in divvying up the teams, they were like, "Oh, Tim's really good. Okay, we'll put all the crappy people on his team and and we got toasted. It was really bad because I couldn't back up my own claims. That's that dignity. Like, you should respect me because I'm a gold player. I mean, I was decent, but I had other people that helped me get that ranking when I first started, so it wasn't actually my ranking. But yeah, when I cast it off and I fell to my individual, like my real ranking, it sorted me with other players that could carry me because I didn't try to feign my dignity, But anyways, just gamer terms. Can I beat Goku? Well, probably. I am Asian. We have all those.
You could probably make Goku. Yeah. You're most likely to be able to make Goku between the two of us.
But I mean, let's be real. Dragon Ball sucks, man. I hate that series. Naruto is so much better.
I've only seen Naruto. I've not seen any of Dragon Ball Z. I have a cousin who loves Dragon Ball Z, but I haven't gotten into it personally. I think of the anime heroes, my favorite would probably be Psyche.
I was afraid you would say that.
I'm just saying.
We were scrolling through Netflix last night, and I saw that pop up. I was like, what a stupid anime.
Wow.
I just personally don't have a taste for it.
Yeah,
Hurt his mind until it explodes. But anyway.
If I were to actually let loose and talk about all the things I don't know and then intentionally get them wrong multiple times, I probably could make a few people's heads explode.
Sure.
Sure you can, Brandon. I believe you, not.
Yeah. Well, I guess bringing it into the outro. How dignity is killing you. I guess just using my own life as an example, I'd recommend, at least suggest to you guys, to be very careful with dignity, because it's something that I chased for a long time. And up until the past couple of years, I never really actually thought about. But looking back on how I pursued it so hard, it just hurt every area of my life, my personal life, my relational life, my professional life. But when I gave it up, it's like, wow, I can actually breathe. I saw, you know how you're on, if you're our age or older, you're on Facebook. Gen Zers, you're on Instagram, but on Facebook, you have these movie reels that pop up and you scroll through them. And for some reason I get a lot of Family Guy reels. I don't know why, but there was this one where Peter Griffin was talking to Brian. You know who that is, the dog?
Okay. I've seen the dog.
So Peter Griffin is super overweight, and he was saying, they say that when you relax, you gain 20 pounds. And Brian was like, really? And Peter said, yeah, just you're in a safe place. They were like at a resort or something like that, where it's all like large people. And he said, just let it out. You don't suck in the gut. Just be yourself and just relax, because you're not trying to impress anybody. And Brian was like, okay, let me try it. And he went, and every part of his body just expanded. He just got like super fat. I just think that's kind of interesting, because that's exactly what we're talking about. It's like, okay, if you let go of the dignity, you don't have to walk in sucking in your gut, trying to be accepted and looking hot and whatever. And Brian was like, wow, this feels great. I haven't felt this great in a long time. And that's so true. It's like when you finally stop sucking in the gut, metaphorically, and allowing people to see you for who you are, and allowing God to make up the deficit, it's like, wow, this is kind of cool. I actually enjoy living now, because I'm not so focused on maintaining my dignity.
Yeah, you spend an incredible amount of energy trying to be dignified.
Yeah.
Specifically, I still feel like there is a separate definition for dignified, and that's the one we're specifically trying to focus in on. And now I've got to know for sure.
With that said, thank you guys for watching.
Wait. What? Definition of dignified. Having or showing a composed or serious manner that is worthy of respect. She maintained a dignified silence. That's worthy of respect. Trying to hold yourself in such a way that you command respect from a person is kind of how I'm taking that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you're trying to put effort in to make someone respect you, I feel like, again, that's going to take a lot of energy, and it will only be sustainable through yours, because I don't think God is in the business of letting us be dignified all the time. I feel like there's a good place of trying to protect someone else's dignity, and to keep them, not like to lie about them, but
Mm-hmm.
to not join in with gossip or slander about that person, to go out of the way to help them if they're in need.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a goodness in helping other people and putting other people first. And I think that by doing that, you in turn help yourself, because other people are more likely to do that for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the healthiness comes from, is people, they're complimenting you, they're praising you. You don't have to do it for yourself. And you don't also have to be fishing for it either, because I feel like, people, they're not going to compliment themselves, but they're going to try to get you to give them a compliment, and that's its own kind of dysfunction too. That's still pride.
Yeah.
And still like fishing for things, and it's icky.
Yeah.
But when you are not trying so hard to be dignified, but just to be exactly who you are, where you're at, sometimes you're going to be very dignified, sometimes you're not going to be very dignified. But your value is not dependent upon how dignified you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's
How
dependent on
respected.
how God sees you, and that's a constant.
And I think it's kind of interesting, this is my last piece and I'll shut up. But if you go through all the great men of biblical history, a lot of them did things that were unpopular. Like Moses did something that was very unpopular and wildly strange. And then Noah with the ark.
Let me tell you, it gets stranger. Some of the prophets did even more very undignified things. I think there was one prophet that God told them to eat their poop.
What?
And to lay on one side naked in public square for months. Months.
Oh, Austin's saying stuff. I can't see it.
Oh yeah, we'll just expand that. Then you'll be able to see it easier.
Hello, Austin.
Hello.
I miss your face.
It's self-acceptance. It's accepting yourself as who you are and not needing anything else. I'm trying to remember when he said that.
Well, apparently I got a golden star for using Family Guy metaphor.
Oh.
How many gold stars do you have, Brandon?
None. I don't know.
Welcome to Thought Raid, where I am now the star of the show.
But anyways, there's been a prophet. I don't remember the
Eating poop?
I can't. Yes, I'm not joking. The biblical prophet that ate poop.
The things we say on the stream.
I know. Ezekiel. Why did God command Ezekiel to bake his bread with okay, so he had to bake bread with his own poop. He used his poop as, I guess, the heating source or something, the fuel to burn the fire. Imagine that. So it's not that he ate poop. He cooked something with poop.
So he smoked his bread with the poop. Gross.
Essentially, yes. And then there was one that had to sleep naked on his side in full public and view of everyone. That's talk about lack of dignity.
Yeah.
And God had the prophet do that because he was trying to show the Israelites how they were going to be treated if they didn't get their act together, which they didn't. And they went into exile, and they had to do similar things.
Yeah.
So it was like a wake-up call to the people of Israel. So he was saying when you guys were talking about letting your shoulders down. Okay. So, yeah. So it's just not worth it to try to over-focus on dignity. I think it's good to, preserve other people's dignity and to put others before yourself. And I think, in the same vein, not just going around talking about all your accomplishments, but letting people talk about them for you as they willingly want to without coercion is good. But when you try to maintain your own dignity, and I'm not saying like go live poor on the streets when you don't have to, or like intentionally self-deprecate. I'm not talking about that, but like going above and beyond, like puffing yourself up beyond where you are, and not needing things from people. I don't want to be a burden to someone else. I can't have anyone take care of my needs because what would that say to someone? Then you're going too far into dignity, into a place that is going to hurt yourself and other people. Because you don't really know. You become unknowable in a bad way, in a way where like, how is anyone going to know how to help you when you actually do need help?
Like, ooh, this person's got everything figured out, and truly, I have nothing figured out. I can feign this, and I can wear a mask only for so long, but it's like it's exhausting.
It leaves you isolated too in the end as well, because like when you were going through a period of time where we didn't know what was going on and stuff, like as you were putting up those facades, it's like unrelatable. Like I don't know. Tim never has any needs, so I never thought to ask, how does this affect you? How are things going? Any of that kind of stuff. But when you began to be willing to talk about it and stuff, you became immediately relatable, and now I feel more trusting of you, and I want to spend more time with you, and I think that's the same for a lot of other people because they can be themselves around you and whoever else is dealing with it too.
Yeah. I think that's a good cherry point. Cherry on top.
Yeah. The cherry on the top of the ice cream sundae.
Yeah. So dignity, get rid of it. It sucks.
Or at least don't make it into an idol. Because it's not a good idol. So, what else is Zap saying?
He's just really good at baking. Zap, we need more memes, brother.
Yes, you've been bringing in the memes, and I appreciate that. I appreciate all of your activity and everything. It is seen. It is encouraging. I enjoy having you be a part of our streams and a part of our Discord. Thank you for being with us and as active as you are.
What about Austin?
And also Austin. But Austin, you could be saying more on Discord, though.
Oh. Wow. Gauntlet. Okay. Anyways, with that said, we want to thank you guys for watching. Brandon's not hitting the button.
No, I'm not hitting the button yet because now I feel bad. I was really meaning that in a joking manner.
We love you, Austin.
We do. We do legitimately. Okay. Fine. If you've enjoyed this stream.
Well, real quick, I don't get to play games anymore. What are you playing Friday and Saturday?
I don't know. I want to put this out there. I'm going to be in Tennessee from Thursday to Saturday.
Oh, doing what?
I'm going to be meeting some family out in Tennessee.
Oh, boring. I thought it was going to be something more fun.
Wow. Okay. No.
What part of Tennessee?
Nashville.
Oh.
It's
Cool.
whole 6 hours out.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be out there during that time. I don't know what we're doing Friday. I'm gonna have to talk with Dan about it. We may or may not have a stream on Friday. It will depend on if you or Dan.
I won't be available
So
Friday.
if Dan would be able to do a stream.
What's this AI thing you guys have going on?
Yes. So one of the things that we've been talking about on Friday and Saturday is we're doing an AI battle contest. If you are interested in potentiality of winning $30, we're having a contest on Discord. You would have to make a submission of a character, give them a name. They could be
Submission where?
so this is where I would need Noah. No one knows the answer, but essentially, where is it? I don't know if I'm going to have to, I guess I'll have to make a Discord page to put it onto, like a channel for it. I'll make a channel for it. But essentially, I'm going to make it on Discord. We would need a name for the character because we have an AI bot that will take random bits of information and make a story out of it. And it's different every time. And you could literally make God himself, and it wouldn't guarantee that God would win. In this AI, God could lose technically, so there's no way to cheese the system. But you make a character and give a little bit of like a background to that character, and we will pit your character against someone else's, and they can do, I think it's 3 hits on each other. The first 1 to 3 hits on the other person's character wins.
Freaking zap.
What did you say?
If I bribe the other active people on Discord $5 to not submit anything, automatically win. But can they beat Goku? I guess we'll see.
We'll have to see.
You guys should play AI Super Fight. Because remember that time how we had Hillary Clinton with tentacles for arms and she was like 90 feet tall?
Yes, but that was an actual like in-person game. But yes, I do remember that. She had 5 arms, but she also had no arms. So we decided that she could delete emails twice as fast, but no one would ever know. Super Fight. That was really good.
Anyways.
We should do that. We should invite people to do that. That could be scary though, but we should do that.
Yeah. Or what is that game we play?
Cards Against Humanity?
No. You don't do Jackbox.
Jackbox. You don't do Jack.
Hunger Games Simulator.
Oh God.
That's called East Winston. I mean, I'm not wrong.
I know you're not wrong.
There's a lot of poverty over there.
I know. You did homeless ministry there for a time.
Puff me up. Okay, we need to go.
Anyways, if you like to partake in that, you need a character and a description of the character, and that'll put you in as a chance to win. Noah will be hosting the tournament. He'll put your character against another character. The first character to get 3 blows on the opposite character wins and moves on in a bracket. The one to the end bracket that wins, that person who made that character gets a $30 gift card. So if you are interested in winning $30, you want to be a part of this tournament. We will be live streaming it. So I'm excited for that. So we'll have something on Saturday, but we may not have anything to Friday. I'll let you guys know in Discord. But that said, finally, I want to thank you guys for watching. We broadcast every week, Monday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We may not be live this Friday, but we will be Saturday. We'll keep you posted on Discord and Facebook. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, I can see far away from where I've been. He says I see a potential. I see a potential in my eyes. I see a potential. I never lost sight of the reason why you're alive. You're alive. You're alive. We sing Jesus.